Hello, and welcome back to the Garden of Grace devotion. My name is Pastor Katie, and I am one of the pastors at Trinity Lutheran Church in Lilburn, Georgia. Today I greet you with a question. Have you ever found yourself looking for something, looking for something, only to discover later that what you were looking for had actually been right in front of your face the whole time? Have you ever found yourself in one of those situations? When I think about these situations, I think about my grandmother's phrase that she would say, and you've probably heard it. She would say, if it had been a snake, it would have bit me. Well, I will tell you that I had one of these situations this week. Thankfully, it did not involve a snake. But I had one of these situations where I was looking for something and I didn't think it was there. And I would like to share the story with you today. So last Friday, there was an issue with one of the slides on the playground at Trinity. There's a hole in the bottom of one of the slides. So it was deemed that it wasn't safe to use. Pastor Scott and I were made aware of this. Our facilities team was made aware of this. And so we were told that caution tape was going to be put up and a sign was going to be put up so that people would know not to use the slide so that they could be safe. Well, on Sunday morning after worship, I guess it was Sunday afternoon, I was getting ready to leave church. And I looked over at the slide and I didn't see any caution tape. So I parked my car for a minute. I got out, I came, I looked at the bottom of the slide and I saw the hole, but I didn't see any caution tape. I thought, I wonder what happened. So I went home and I sent a message to our facility superintendent and I said, hey, took a look at the slide, but I didn't know if you had a chance to put some caution tape up because I didn't see any. He responded back and said, I put a whole bunch of caution tape. I even put a sign, which I went inside and laminated so that people in all weather could be advised not to use the slide. I said, well, it's gone. I was just there. I looked at the slide. I looked all around the slide. There was no caution tape. There was no sign. So he said, well, I wonder if somebody maybe took it down and put it in the dumpster. I said, I don't know, but I'm going back up there. So I did. I came back up here to Trinity. And I looked at the bottom of the slide again. I looked at the hole in the slide. I looked under the slide, all around the area of the bottom of the slide, and I saw no sign, and I saw no caution tape. Even went over to the dumpster, looked inside to see if I could find the caution tape and the sign that was made, and it wasn't there. So I let our facility superintendent know. I said, I'm so sorry, but it's totally gone. There's no sign of it. Didn't see it at all. You would imagine my surprise on Monday when I got a text message from our facilities superintendent that had a picture of this caution tape and sign. And it said, the tape and the sign are still up right where I put them. At no point had it occurred to me to look up at the top of the slide to look for the tape. I was looking at the bottom where the hole was. The answer to what I was looking for was like, I don't know, several feet away from where I was looking, but I didn't see it. In fairness to me, the slide does turn. So you can't exactly see this from the bottom, but folks don't need to see it from the bottom anyway. They need to see it from the top. So I had apologies to make. I accounted for not looking in the place I should have looked. But for me, this experience was a sign of caution in several ways. I think it's interesting that when I didn't see the caution tape, one of the first things I thought was, I guess somebody else had something to do with that. I guess somebody else took it down. How often in life, when we see things that we don't think are the way we're expecting them to be, how often do we blame somebody else? How often do we say, well, this isn't quite right, but it wasn't me? Actually, in this case, it absolutely was me. Had I taken a moment to step back and look at the whole situation, I would have seen all of this caution tape up here at the top of the slide. I was too busy trying to figure out where the tape went instead of doing a little bit more looking and shifting my vantage point to see if perhaps it had always been there in the first place. The situation reminded me of Martin Luther's interpretation of the Eighth Commandment. It can be so easy to shift our blame sometimes, even when we don't have 100% understanding of what is going on in a situation. I think that's part of what Martin Luther was talking about with his interpretation of the Eighth Commandment. The eighth commandment, of course, is you shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. Luther's interpretation of this is we should fear and love God so that we do not tell lies about our neighbor, betray them or slander them or hurt their reputation. But we should defend them, speak well of them, and explain everything in the kindest way. Or another way that I've heard this written and said is, we are to interpret everything our neighbor says and does in the best possible light. At the end of the day, this caution tape now reminds me to step back and to see whether or not I'm really seeing the full picture. Had I taken the time to step back and look up, instead of being so focused on where the hole was, I would have seen the tape. Instead, I jumped to thinking about how someone might have removed it and where they might have put it, when none of that actually happened. It was my own field of vision that needed to be examined. Like the story or the line in the Gospel of Matthew about why is it so easy to see the speck in our neighbor's eye when we have an entire log in our own. I'm thankful for the grace of God who invites us to look at things anew again and again, to revisit situations, to revisit circumstances and people with a new field of vision, to take a different look through the lens of grace. So, the next time that I'm wanting to focus in and wonder what happened in a situation, my prayer is that I will take a step back, take a larger look, shift my vantage point, and instead of thinking about who might be to blame for it, consider how I'm seeing things. Thanks be to our God, who is so full of grace and welcomes us again and again and again to live anew. May God's peace be with you today and always. Amen.